Crittman, StickStarLax.com, at StickStarLax on the Twitters, and I'm joined today once again by at StickStarATX, Kyle Saunders. Today we've got a little D1 2018 season recap action, a season of firsts, but first let's have at StickStarATX tell you about the ATX and the HTX.
Yeah, down in Austin, business as usual. You've got Westlake coming in the 1 seed last year with Lake Travis right behind them. These two teams have been going at it for a couple seasons now. Westlake's really still on top down there, but Lake Travis is right there. Been in some close games, unable to knock off Westlake and take that 1 seed in 2018, but right there nonetheless. And then coming in the 3rd seed was Dripping Springs, their best season ever. First time as a Division I program to advance to the state super regional, so banner year for the Tigers. And then the 4th spot, you've got an up-and-coming program kind of working their way back into the conversation, and Austin High. They'll be back in 2019 as well. And then in Houston, you've got the Woodlands, right? No surprise there. Unbelievable class in the 2018 group. They've kind of been knocking at the door for a while. Stayed the number 1 seed again in 2018, and then 2 through 4, you had St. John, Strake, and Kingwood bringing up the rest of that grouping, moving on to the Super Regionals.
ESD, great year as always. They were able to get an overtime win against Jesuit, an overtime win against St. Mark's, and they were able to beat Highland Park in a 1-goal game at the beginning of the season. It's always contentious between those 4 at the top. All of them, once again, making the Super Regionals and making runs for the state championship. You had what could have essentially been a Final Four round on the Sunday of games. You had Westlake taking on Highland Park and Jesuit taking on the Woodlands. Jesuit Woodlands, 11-4 game, same score as earlier in the year, with the Highlanders able to end Jesuit's streak of state championships at 2. 11-4 win for the Highlanders, great senior class, advancing to the Final Four. In the other matchup, it was Highland Park defeating Westlake 9-8, very close game. Chaps in it throughout. Another really great senior class for the Chaps. Highland Park cutting their season short, as they did a couple years ago in the Final Four, where they were able to defeat the Chaps by a goal once again. So, coming out of Austin, it was Woodlands and Highland Park.
Yeah, and then in Dallas, we had ESD taking on Dripping Springs out of Austin. Once again, Dripping Springs banner year. They were able to advance to the Super Regional round. Unfortunately for them, they ran into an absolute juggernaut with ESD, dropping that game 20-3. And then same thing for Lake Travis. That was an excellent game. Lake Travis had plenty of opportunities early, but ultimately it was St. Mark's that was able to come away with that win, 12-3, and punch their ticket into the Final Four weekend once again. In the first semifinal match of the state championship weekend, we saw the Woodlands face off against Highland Park, a rematch of an excellent game that we saw earlier in the season, where Highland Park was able to come away with a 1-goal victory. It would be very different on championship weekend, though, as the Woodlands were able to cruise past the Scots 10-6 and punch their ticket into the state championship game.
In the other Final Four matchup, you had St. Mark's taking on ESD. Foes that know each other quite well. In fact, it was the 3rd time that they would face each other in that season. ESD was able to defeat St. Mark's in their first contest. They were able to kind of get after them in the SPC championship, but the one that they really wanted to get was Final Four weekend, and that was the one that St. Mark's was able to make happen. It was their first win in quite some time against the Eagles. I don't know what the exact number is, but it was a lot of games in a row that they hadn't been able to defeat the Eagles, but they were that weekend. The Lions were able to frustrate ESD with some defensive shenanigans, and St. Mark's was able to get back to the state championship game under Hayward Lee, where they usually find themselves when he's at the helm. State championship, you had St. Mark's taking on Woodlands. Pretty awesome game between two old friends, Coach Tyndall out of the Woodlands and Coach Lee out of St. Mark's. Coach Lee did his best with a quality group to get them there, but then ultimately it was the Woodlands with just too much juice. Jack Barron, offensive MVP, Jackson Shear, your defensive MVP, and Ramsey McCreary, overall MVP. Not on paper, but in your hearts, Jason Kroslowitz in cage, the southpaw, was absolutely great that weekend. How do we feel about the 2018 season, all in all?
2018 season was amazing. It was great. It was the first time a team outside of Dallas had won the state championship at the Division I level in like 10 years or something.
2006, I believe.
Yeah, it had been quite some time. As we mentioned, Woodlands have been knocking on the door. They've been building to it, and they were able to punch it through with an exceptional senior class.
I would say that the senior classes across the state were probably the best that we have seen in quite some time. Westlake, Highland Park, ESD, the Woodlands. I mean, the list goes on and on.
St. Mark's, I mean, it was truly a very deep class in the state of Texas.
And we hope that 2019 can live up to the legacy of 2018 at StickStarLax, StickStarLax.com, at StickStarATX, StickStarReport. We're just getting warmed up, baby. We're going to be bringing you tons of coverage. Stay dialed, and we'll see y'all real soon.